Hello, and welcome back to YouTube Stock Portfolio. This is episode 3. We got some pretty exciting stuff to talk about. I'm going to be comparing Donald Trump and Joe Biden's policies on taxes and tariffs and other things like that and how they affect our portfolio. The first thing I want to cover is the stock we bought last week, and that is Tesla. We talked about it last episode, and I felt really confident, so I went ahead and bought it. Remember, this is YouTube Stock Portfolio, so if I get a comment suggesting me to buy stock, I will buy that stock. Bought Tesla because we didn't get any comments last week, but that is all right. Let's see how Tesla did. It did fantastic this week, up 5.55%. Obviously, most of that looks like it came from today. From today, I believe there was some news about it becoming cheaper to buy a Tesla in China, which is obviously really big news. We always love Teslas getting cheaper so they can compete with gas cars. Other stock was Apple. Apple also did really well this week, up 7%. That puts us up a total of 15% on Apple. Overall, we're killing it. This week we were up 6.78%. I believe last week we were up something like 10%, so not as good as last week, but 6.78% in a week is nothing to complain about. Remember, next week we'll be putting in $5 extra, and we will buy another stock. If you want me to buy a particular stock, all you got to do is put a comment in the description and I will buy that stock. Remember, this is your stock portfolio. I just make the calls on it. Today, we're going to be looking at Biden versus Trump and their specific economic policies and tax policies and how they affect our stock portfolio. First, we'll start with the incumbent president, Donald Trump. Unsurprisingly, his tax policy is not going to change a whole lot from his first to his second term. The biggest proposal is the Made in America tax credit. This would allow goods made in the United States to be cheaper and compete with imports. You might immediately think about this hurting the $7 or so worth of Apple in our portfolio. However, I don't think this will be the case. Most, if not all, of Apple's competitors create products in factories outside of the country, meaning that this will raise the price of all electronics equally, basically coming out to no effect to Apple. I do think, however, this could have a big positive impact on our Tesla stock. Tesla does, in fact, make their products in America, whereas many of their competitors are making their cars outside of the US. If this tax credit was implemented, we could possibly see a Tesla even cheaper than the $25K Tesla talked about at last week's Battery Day, and this could be huge for the stock. Other than that, Trump has proposed lowering of the capital gains tax, which is the tax on asset appreciation value, such as stocks or bonds, and raising the standard deduction, which would reduce your taxable income. I personally don't see either of these helping or hurting our portfolio. While both could mean that people would have more money to spend, that does not always translate to a direct boost in the stock market. Now, the really interesting part, Joe Biden's tax changes. The first tax change he wants to do is he wants to increase the corporate income tax rate from 21% to 28%. This would have a huge impact on Apple and their profit. Obviously, Apple makes a ton of money, so this 7% bump would hurt them a lot. He also wants to create a minimum tax on corporations with book profits of 100 million or higher. Now, this is obviously to target a lot of those companies that have found ways to not pay taxes. I don't really think this impacts Apple or Tesla. They're both paying their fair share of taxes, but it affects some other companies that kind of skirt out of taxes and don't pay them. Lastly, and most important, Joe Biden wants to expand several renewable energy related tax credits. The biggest one of these would be the electric vehicle tax credit. Depending how big it would be, this could be huge for Tesla, making their cars even cheaper, which would just make them more and more affordable. On top of this, Biden wants to end tax subsidies for fossil fuels, meaning that not only would Tesla become cheaper, gas cars would become more expensive. Obviously, this is huge. It can make Teslas way cheaper than gas cars, and gas cars would not even be feasible. I think this would be a huge benefit, the Trump's plan completely. The taxes would take away from that a little bit, I think. But as Teslas sell more, I think they kind of have a speeding up effect in that they sell more and more and more and more. Obviously, this would hurt Apple a lot and wouldn't really help them at all. The one thing that is up in the air is if Biden is going to repeal the tariffs on China. I think this would help Apple a lot if he ended up doing that. Obviously, it wouldn't help Tesla because, as we just talked about, Tesla making their cars in the United States are not affected by these tariffs, and so they their competition making their cars outside of the United States now would be on an equal playing field with them. However, it is up for debate whether or not he's going to do this. His aides have said he's not. He's said he's for it. We're not really sure yet, so I wouldn't call this one a win or a loss. And either way, I think it's kind of a toss up as to whether it would help our portfolio or hurt it. Thanks for watching. Remember, if you want me to buy a stock, all you got to do is put the ticker down in the comments. The most liked comment I will buy. This is your portfolio after all, and so I will buy whatever you want me to. Remember to check back in next week to see what stock we bought and see how the market has treated our portfolio.